I never went to Amboy. Well, I probably did. I just don't remember it. But I do remember hearing stories about all the cults and stuff out there. My brother, who's also in the Marine Corps, knows a ton of Marines that were stationed there, and they all attest that Amboy is a very strange place with very strange people. And the rumor is it's a lot of satanic cults out there, um, which kind of checks out with most military bases being in the middle of nowhere. There's always a rumor of a cult out in the training area or people doing weird things. Um, as an example, I may have mentioned it on the last show, and I don't remember if I did. Like I was in the training area at Fort Drum, and we found like a basement to like an old house that had used to been there. We walked in the basement, and it was literally covered in walls with satanic symbols and what looked like an altar to be down there. And we're like, yep, time to leave. We're leaving now. Get
Oops.
out.
Found more than we were looking for.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to throw all of our trash and piss bottles in here.
Add to the mess. How far is Amboy from 29 Palms?
So I would have to look that up. I'm not 100% sure. I can actually look it up right now. I believe it is on the outskirts. It's not far. So it is exactly from 29 Palms, Maine. It is exactly 50 minutes.
Okay, so not very far at all.
And that's about the usual distance for like some of these towns, like right outside. And if I look up the Marine Corps Exchange, it's 57 minutes from like the actual Marine Corps base. It's about north, in between the lovely towns of Symbolism and Baghdad, California. You could also, on the same road, go to Siberia if you would like.
Wow, and trip around the world, not even leaving the state of California. Amazing.
But yeah, so it's like there's these rumors and stories of stuff. If I can just read the story right here, so your viewers can just kind of understand what we're talking about. So this is from a soldier who, not a soldier. I'm sorry, force of habit, a Marine who was stationed out of 29 Palms, talking about the town of Amboy that's to the north of it. So when we entered the fleet, our seniors immediately told us about the satanic rituals that are held by the locals of Amboy, California, the town just outside 29 Palms. They were held, or so we speculated, at a large quote-unquote volcano-looking mound. It was very large and pure black. It stuck out like a sore thumb in the desert and went against any baseline that the Mojave Desert had. Of course, curiosity killed the. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. Of course, the curiosity eventually killed us young lance corporals, metaphorically speaking. It was said that the Joshua trees there are biblical and that they only grow in two areas of the world: Jerusalem and the 29 Palms / Joshua tree area. Jerusalem being the gates of heaven and 29 Palms being the rumored gates of hell. So the curiosity of us young lance corporals decided that we need to go investigate this so-called gate of hell, and we made the trip one night to the large volcano-looking mound. Upon arrival, we discovered numerous satanic items and weird drawings in the black dirt and dust. But the people were definitely there. I can't confirm exactly what took place there, but it seemed like as if rituals were going on. Just down the road from the famous Roy's Motel, and not even a mile from the volcano thing, there are these ginormous satanic lion statues in the middle of the desert facing the volcano. Anyway, we used to have to drive through Amboy every time to get to Vegas on our weekend trips. Every time we would pass these statues, I swear they would clearly be in different locations. But each time they moved, they remained looking at the same direction of the volcano. I'm not kidding though, no humans could have picked up and moved these statues, but there they were, moved around, and they were massive. We once tried to pick them up with the hoist, and they were just simply too heavy for any of our equipment. It's a pretty creepy place, and Amboy is a very odd area. A lot of spooky shit goes on over there.
So these statues, they would just move. Is this something that like everybody knows is there?
I never heard of the statues until that point. I've tried to look it up. I'll see if I can bring it up real quick. I have heard that they're either an art installation or, the Guardian Lions of Route 66. This is from Atlas Obscura. And so I don't know if they're necessarily real or not. So along Route 66, 4 miles east of the landmark Roy's Motel and Cafe, an attentive traveler may catch a sight of two large white statues set back about 500 feet from the eastbound roadside. Further investigation will reveal a pair of solid marble Chinese guardian lions, spaced a quarter mile apart, surrounded by nothing but desert, chaparral, hot sun, and unimpeded winds. Most days you can clearly see the lions from Amboy crater, the geological remains of an extinct cinder cone volcano 5 miles to the west, making the presence of these marble creatures that much more otherworldly. Often called food dogs in the West, these guardians are most notably gendered by the tokens they hold. The male, symbolizing yang, holds an embroidered ball representing, and the female, symbolizing yin, shelters a cub. It is unknown how the lions got there, standing about 5 feet high and elevated on a cinder block pedestals. They were first sighted in 2013, and whoever placed them there has never stepped forward to claim responsibility. Administrators of the Lions Facebook page emphasize that they are not the benefactors. The mystery serves only to amplify their allure. How and why the two carved solid marble statues weighing thousands of pounds were transported there 4 miles from the west to the nearby town remains a mystery. Other mysteries circulate online to the origin of the visitor logbooks at the sites, pondering the significance of the surveyor's brass waymarks pounded into the earth before the female lion. Is it a geocache hidden in plain sight? What are the significance of the real estate signs placed on the roadside north of the male lion? Whatever the origins, the passerbys have attached their own meaning. People leave coins, trinkets, and the lions stand watch of the ever-changing landscape of the meaning of the desert. So, interesting stuff.
Yeah, very
Seems like no
interesting.
one knows what they are.
Yeah, and if they're moving around, that's well, that's quite glitchy.
It kind of reminded me of the shisha dogs. You ever heard of the shisha dogs?
No, I
Like
haven't.
they kind of look like they're like these Japanese statues of these like crazy looking dogs, and they're supposed to be like ward off evil spirits and protect the house. And so like they're kind of known for like putting them down. And I've always wondered. Now I just wonder, not always wonder, but now it just kind of clued into me. You know, if this is a place that's known for like evil, like these guys went into this volcano and saw like all this weird stuff. Is there like some type of with these Chinese lions, like a guardian type, a protection type symbolism behind them? And maybe somebody put them there on purpose, facing towards the volcano
Very interesting.
to guard for I don't know. Like, it's kind of weird, man.
Yeah, it seems like there's just a lot of symbolism out there. A lot of uh, it seems like everywhere you're turning, there is something that deserves further looking into and trying to understand. Now, the idea of, I think he said, Jerusalem being the gateway to heaven, and 29 Did they say 29 Palms was the gateway to hell? Yes, he did.
Yeah,
And so, like, I mean, obviously that's his opinion, bro, but like, with all the stories coming out of that area, it does not surprise me that people would come to those kind of conclusions. I have been talking about the possibility of a thinning of the veil, like a spiritual veil, in some of these areas, 29 Palms, Joshua Tree, that area being one of them, where the veil is thinner, and therefore, let's just call it veil and portal, the same word almost, but I do think there might be something to it for sure.
yeah. It's definitely like it's a weird place. Like, and I just I have found many stories of just cults in the desert, and it just seems to kind of like fit the mythos of that area, satanic panic or not. But I don't know. I've met plenty of strange characters that like to worship dark deities. So who knows?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the term satanic panic. I understand the motivation behind it, but it's like a blanket statement anymore. For any time you bring up anything, it's like, oh, it's satanic panic. It's like, no, I'm not panicked about anything. I'm talking about real
Yeah,
things that are happening and are
which is
attributed.
hilarious.
What?
Which is hilarious because my during my that time when my dad was in high school, he would in not California, San Antonio. There's limestone caves everywhere. Guess what? Everyone knew was happening in the limestone caves. Like there's Satanists would hold rituals in the limestone caves, and he would tell me like, and he never took part in this, but he knew of things happening of a bunch of good old boy Southern rednecks, God fearing rednecks would go into these canyons and caves and chase out all the Satanists.
Hey, boy,
So
I'm gonna chase you with my Bible now. Yeah.
came from wrong country.
Yeah. So I mean, it's I think it's a real thing. I think it's a real issue. I think that the idea of thinning of veils, portals deserve more not explanation, well, explanation, but exploration, and further understanding. And I've been doing a lot of that recently with the show, independently, looking into certain things and trying to understand how it all works. It's very complicated, but it's something that I think is very real. And the more we understand it, I think the more it helps to explain and give us understanding of things that people are experiencing, which, is kind of the goal here. So,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah. So, what's this U.S. Marine glitch story here?
So I know you requested glitch stories, so this is another one. Okay, so this one was in the first book. Um, so this was kind of the first I started getting like the glitch stories. This is the first one I got. So I'll just go ahead and read it. So this is U.S. Marine here. So unlike most stories that I've heard or read on the platform, this isn't exactly an alien or cryptid story. This is more of what I consider a glitch in the matrix type story or event that happened to me. This event took place in 29 Palms, California. It's a Marine Corps base in the Mojave Desert, about 3 hours away from Las Vegas. It tends to get hottest during the day and coldest during the night. During this time, me and my battle buddy were undergoing our training to become comms Marines. We picked up in the same class, so we spent a lot of times together. One of those times was at night. We had gotten off the class for the day and we were walking back to the evening chow. Our rooms were in the second barracks between the first and the third, also known as the B map barracks. When he had reached the bottom stairs, my battle buddy looked at me and initiated a race up to the second floor where the rooms were at. He had a head start, but he wasn't too far from me. I looked down at the stairs because I was skipping, and I reached the top of the stairs and looked up, expecting to see my battle buddy standing there next to me. But he wasn't there. I searched around the corner expecting him to jump out at me, and he wasn't there either. I went across the hall and up to the third floor, calling his name without any answer. I even went back down. I know I was calling out loud because one of the rooms had curtains open, and the people inside were making rude gestures and motioning for me to be quiet as I yelled. I gave up and thought that maybe my battle buddy had made it to the room somehow, beating me like with no explanation. On my way back, my name was called right behind me. I turned around and it was my battle buddy. We were both confused. After we talked, I found out that from his perspective, he had been standing at the top of the second floor stairs the entire time waiting for me. And this is where it gets weird. The staircase is not that wide. So even if I hadn't seen him, my battle buddy is a big guy, and I would have bumped into him if I ran up those stairs head on. But neither of us saw each other. I was calling out his name, and I knew it was loud enough to hear because the people in the rooms were responding to it, but he said that he heard nothing. He also said that he had called out to me, but I heard nothing either. We 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 were freaked out about it, and we told the rest of our classmates, but they didn't believe us or just brushed us off. However, the part of the story that makes me believe this is the part of the story that makes me believe there's something more to it. A couple days later, our story had reached the ears of our instructor. He asked me about it, and I told him what happened. Expecting him to make light of it and brush it off as a joke like everyone else, I wasn't serious. That wasn't until I saw his expression. He became serious and looked me dead and said, "Do not talk about this anymore." I don't know what he was trying to hide or if this was something government related. I know that this story doesn't seem like much, but it's a reoccurring topic my battle buddy and I still talk about. We still speculate about what happened that day. Maybe one of us slipped into a wormhole or another dimension. But whatever happened, I know there's something more to it.
So, do you think, first of all right, which one do I want to do first? So, do you think that this I guess instructor or whoever that pulled him aside, do you think that it could have been just him thinking, okay, boys, like you keep talking like this, you're gonna get kicked out. So why don't you just keep this to yourself? Or do you think that he would have said something like that if there was nothing to hide?
I don't know, that's a tough one. I could also see it as like I could literally see it as the instructor, like, hey, so stop talking about this because I don't want to have to address it with the commander, right? Or if somebody asks, I don't want to have to be like, yeah, my two Marines, sorry, are talking about how they had a glitch in the Matrix. I could see it like that, like literally, like I don't want to deal with this right now. I could see it as like an acknowledgement of something weird that was happening, but not to say something to jeopardize, like people to start thinking you're crazy or something like that, or to question your mental state. I could also see it as, maybe they know that there's something weird out there and they're just like, hey, we don't talk about this here. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Like that story wasn't a lot of information given in terms from the other instructor side, but I would love to talk to that instructor to hear about the stuff that they experience.
Yeah, I mean, especially if there's a reason why he said it that way, he must know something. Uh, it's interesting now from your perspective. Uh, what do you like? You said this was your first glitch story that you got. I mean, what was your perspective receiving this story? Were you just like, "Come on, guy," or were you kind
So
of like already geared towards it?
so I would call it more of like maybe a time slip or something like that, or a dimensional shift. I don't really buy into the simulation mumbo jumbo. I think that's kind of a cringy, like I watched The Matrix too many times, like theory. You know, I saw a computer simulation. I feel like is a nihilist dog whistle. And for your listeners that don't know anything about me, I can't stand like nihilism, and I feel like I won't get into it, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I never buy into it because I always challenge people like, oh, okay, so if this is all a computer simulation, why did the simulation deem that furry porn is something that needs to exist?
Mm.
Like an ever conceivable infinite simulation that is trying to trick us that this is all in existence. Why do we have things? Why do we have such insane, weird topics that we talk about like furry porn? You can't answer, and none of them can ever answer that question. Like, none of them can ever justify why something like that would exist, or like why a simulation that is simulating evolution would create the platypus. Yeah, people can't answer that, you know. So I'm like, I just don't buy into the computer simulation thing. I know a lot of people that do. That's just not me. I'm a firm believer in what we're living in, the reality that we have been given. But I do believe that sometimes maybe there's like glitches in reality where people pass into other dimensions and come here and leave. Like the case of the man from Tuareg, I think it was called. There's that case of the man that he came. He had a passport with countries that never existed, clothing of brands that never existed, and as mysteriously as he disappeared and people were trying to figure out where he was from, he vanished.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was Tuareg. I could be wrong. I do believe that in a infinite universe, the possibility that there's different dimensions is exists, and I'm sure the fabric reality has its own little slips, like you said, where the veil gets thin and things cross over and cross back without even realizing it.